Assalamu alaikum, this is Ahmed Al-Halak, and this is a quick demonstration on how can you use the Symbolic Toolbox in Octave, starting from installing the package, loading the package, and just showing you a brief example on how can you use the Symbolic Toolbox, or what does it actually offer you. Let's just say that whatever that you have learned in math so far, if you learned how to solve an equation, finding the roots, expanding, factoring, all of these stuff that you have learned in math, you can apply the same things in your code, in your Octave's code, using the Symbolic Toolbox. Okay, so I'm going to Octave and I'm going to show you just a brief example. Let's say when we're talking about fractions, if you have 0.5, you just hit enter, it's gonna echo you or print back to you the same value in the answer variable in the decimal form. And even if you did something like this, it's going to tell you that it is 0.5 in the decimal form. So basically, the Symbolic Toolbox offers you the ability to show fractions in their fractional form, or in their form of a over b. Okay, so if you hit sim and click enter, if you have something like this, then this means that Octave is recognizing this word sim. And basically the answer variable is going to change its type to sim, meaning that the sim data type is now a known data type in Octave, just like characters, which are for strings, and double, which is for numbers. And I'm going to show you how can you install and load this package just in a moment. Okay, so if you did something like sim and you want to display the number 1.5, 0.5, or 1 over 2 in the form of 1 over 2, and hit enter, first of all it's going to give you this warning, and I'm going to show you how can you kill this warning. You don't want to see it, but the thing is, if you focus on the last line here, it's going to tell you that alright, the answer variable has now a value. It won't appear in this box here, but basically the answer has the value of 1 over 2. Alright, and you can basically do something like this too. You don't have to enter it as 1 over 2. You can enter it in the decimal form of 0.5, and it's going to tell you that the answer variable has a value of 1 over 2. Okay, so basically it transfers fractions from their decimal form into their fractional form, or the form of a over b. Right, and normally if you did something like 0.5 plus 1, it's going to tell you that this is 1.5. And if you did this using the Symbolic Toolbox, saying something like 0.5 plus 1, it's going to tell you that the result is 3 over 2. Okay, you can use this with variables. I haven't used this with variables at all. I'm just using the default variable in Octave. So you can say something like you have x, and sim is basically 1 over 2. It's going to tell you that x has the value of 1 over 2. So if you went and said that x, I'm going just to add like 3 to this x, is going to tell that x now has 7 over 2. So everything is displayed in the fractional form. Okay, regarding this warning that you are seeing non-stop, you can say something like this. Let's say we're going to use the symbolic or the sim function from the Symbolic Toolbox, and we want to display the number 1.5. Okay, but I'm not really interested in this in seeing this warning, so you're just gonna add a comma, and inside single or double quotation just type R, and this is gonna give you the result that you want without seeing this warning in your command window. Of course, I told you in the second lab, anything that you can do in the command window, you still can do it in the editor, but I think that this is enough, and I mean, you have to do this on your own. So you can try the same thing that I've done in your editor, save your script and run your script, and if you added the second argument here, you're not going to see the warning whenever you run your script. Okay, so this is the basic functionality of the Symbolic Toolbox. Let me show you something real quick. We said that x is actually in the class of sim or symbolic. So basically what this means is, remember in the second lab we said that we have an equation. It was something like 8 to the power of I don't really remember, or x to the power of 8. This was supposed to be z, x to the power of 8 plus 26 times cosine y, and we said that this was the denominator, yeah, divided by 13 times y to the power of 50. I guess this was an equation or a problem that we have taken in the second lab, and I told you that you have a mathematical equation in this form, and I told you I want this mathematical equation to be represented in Octave. How can you do this in Octave? How can you type it in Octave? So this was the solution, right? So if I basically save this, there's something called B1, let's just say it. Okay, and I tried to run it. First of all, it's gonna tell you that Z is undefined, so let's just, or Y is undefined, so let's take the Y from the user. Alright, let's do the same thing for X and try to run this. Let's enter like any data. We never displayed Z, but just let's try to display Z from the command window. It's gonna tell you that this Z equals to this value, which is a double, right? In the decimal, it's a number in the decimal, in its decimal form. Okay, what the Symbolic Toolbox offer you, that you see this form here. This is how you can translate mathematical equations to Octave. This is how you write code. What if I want to display the Z function or the Z equation in actual mathematical shape? Let me just grab the second lab and tell you what I mean. Alright, here was our second lab that we have taken together. I'm just gonna get to the problems. Okay, yes, this was the problem that I was talking about. I told you that you have this equation, write a program that reads the value of x and y and calculates the value of z. Okay, and basically this was the solution of this program. Okay, the trick was, how can you transfer this mathematical equation to an equation that can be understood by Octave's syntax? Okay, so this was the solution, right? What if I want to display the same exact form, the same exact shape of this mathematical equation in Octave, in the command window? You can do this using only the Symbolic Toolbox. Let's say that we are going to do this using the Symbolic Toolbox. So I'm just going to declare X as the type or the class symbolic. I'm going to declare Y, the class symbolic, and Z in the same exact fashion. Now let's try this from scratch. Now I'm going to say that Z equals, I'm going to type the same exact stuff that I've typed there, but remember, now our data types or variables are of the symbolic data type. Okay, so I'm going to say x to the power of 8 plus 26 times cosine phi, and we have the denominator 50. Now when I hit enter, you will see the mathematical equation in the same exact form that we used to see it in math. Like this is how it looks like in math, right? The Symbolic Toolbox offers you the same thing. And if you want to do something really simple, like you have this equation that is basically something like x to the power of 2, a polynomial, and x plus 2, something like this. If you wrote this in Octave, when you have your x variable declared as a symbolic type and you hit enter, it's gonna tell you that this is your polynomial, right? And you have so many other stuff. If you want to know exactly what features that the Symbolic Toolbox offers you, and they are enormous amount of features, just search for Symbolic Octave in your favorite search engine and click the first link, which is their Octave's source for the official website. Okay, and click on function reference. You will have so many stuff, starting from precision up to let's see, what can I present to you. Yeah, let's say that you can get the coefficients of polynomial, for example. Yeah, let's take this expand, for example. If you have this equation and use the function expand, yeah, and remember your variable needs to be declared as a symbolic data type, you can expand this equation to this shape, okay? And you have a factoring function called factor. If you use it, let's say, yeah, let's say that we have this polynomial here and you want to factor this. It's gonna tell you that you have x plus 3 and x plus 4. Okay, so basically anything that you can do in maths in general, you can apply it and you can try it in Octave using the Symbolic Toolbox. Okay, now you're gonna say now that we have so many functionalities, which functionality of these or which feature of those that I actually need in my assignment? Well, this really depends on the assignment. You need to check the assignment and see what does the program in your assignment regarding the fourth question asks you to do with the Symbolic Toolbox, and you need to figure out this yourself. Okay, alright, so now let's start the installation process. Alright, let's continue. I've just paused the video to uninstall the package and show you how can we install it one more time. Alright, okay, I have just uninstalled the package on my PC to show you how can we install this together. Right, so basically if I have uninstalled using this command, you just don't need to care about this now. But if I try to write sim now, it's gonna tell me there is an error. We can't really define what do you mean by sim. Okay, so let's see how can we install this. First of all, you're gonna go to, this is the actual web page. You're gonna click on download and you're gonna download a folder called Symbolic 2.8.0 target GZ. Okay, so you're gonna have this WinRAR, like have it whatever you want. I just transferred or moved it to my desktop. Okay, so download the folder and keep it here. Alright, notice something, that it's telling you that this library or toolbox, it's not going to run unless you have a dependency called Python and Symbi. So you can do one of two things. You can install Python separately and Symbi separately, or you can install something called Anaconda. Basically, Anaconda is a distribution that contains Python and Symbi together at once. Okay, so you will go to this website and just click on download and make sure that you choose the latest version, which is Python 3.7. Do not choose Python 2.7. It's not gonna work. Okay, so pick Python 3.7, click download or click the 64-bit graphical installation. Alright, once you have this installer downloaded, alright, so I have downloaded the Anaconda installer, the 64-bit graphical installer. So I'm just gonna open it for you. I have already installed this, but there's one thing that I want you to see before you install this Anaconda distribution. So you're just gonna basically click next or agree. If you have multiple users in your desktop, or if it's only you that are using your laptop, then just keep it just me. If you have multiple users, you're gonna press on this all users tab. Alright, so I'm gonna say next. Leave the default directory for the installation or the destination folder as it is. Alright, it is not empty. I'm just gonna change it because I already have Anaconda installed on my PC at this place, but you can leave it as it is. Alright, so I'm just gonna click anywhere, just go to D and make a new folder. Right, click. Alright, whatever. Yes, this is the most important part here. Okay, if you have this screen in front of you, click add Anaconda to my path environment variable. This is extremely important. If you didn't click on this option here, if you didn't check this, it may not recognize that you have installed Python in your machine. Alright, so just make sure that this is checked and embark on your installation. I'm just gonna click cancel because I have this already installed, right? Don't forget about this when you're installing Anaconda, and you're good to go. Alright, Anaconda is now installed, and I told you to download this symbolic package using this download button. If you have downloaded the folder, the easiest place that you can place it together is at your desktop. If you have a folder, a specific folder that you want to place this folder inside, it's totally up to you. The thing is, when you open Octave, you need to navigate to this folder. So I'm going to navigate to the folder that contains my symbolic package that I have just downloaded, which is in this case my desktop. So I'm going to select my desktop. Right now in the file browser, I am in my desktop, right? So you can see clearly that this is our symbolic package folder, which is symbolic 2.8.0 tar.gz. Right, this is our guide. Do not double click it, just leave it there and go to the command window. I'm just gonna click CLC, and I'm going to write the following to install the package: pkg install, or package install symbolic. Right, after the install keyword that you have typed here, write the same name of the folder that you have just downloaded. Right, so in this case the name is symbolic dash 2.8.0.tar.gz. Alright, okay, so if you have this line, then this means that the package has been successfully installed in your machine. But if you try doing something like sim, just to test if the Octave is going to recognize the word or the keyword sim, it's going to tell you that it's not it's undefined, it's not yet to be loaded, as this statement actually says. It's telling you that you have installed it, but you have not yet loaded the function or the library. So in order to load the library of the toolbox, you're just going to say package load symbolic. Okay, all right, and then now let's try and use the symbolic toolbox. Let's say something like 3/4. Okay, don't worry about the warning. The most important thing that it tells you that you have the version of the symbolic package version of 2.8.0, right? And it's gonna tell you that you are trying to print the fraction 3/4. This means that we have successfully loaded, installed, and loaded the symbolic package. Okay, there's one problem, and I'm going to tell you how to solve it. And if you're fine with it, then that's totally fine. The problem is, once you load the package is going to be loaded in this running session, in each running session, meaning that now Octave is opened, right? So I can use the symbolic toolbox just as I please. Like, let's say just x, I don't know, maybe 2/7. I can use it as much as I please, right? And you can add the second argument here just to make sure that the warning will not appear to you, right? So this is a running session for Octave. If you close the Octave and you try to open it once more time, all right, let's try to open it again. And now try to use the symbolic package. Try to do something like 3/8 or anything. It's gonna tell you that the same error will appear again. It's gonna tell you that you have installed it, but you have not loaded the package yet. So every time you close Octave and you open it, meaning that you open a new session, it's gonna tell you you need to load the package at the startup of the session. So before, maybe you have some script that have this symbolic package used somewhere. Before you run the script, you need to make sure in the command window that the package is loaded. So either you go to your script at the beginning of your script like this and say something like package load symbolic, the thing that we have written beneath just a moment ago, or every time you open Octave, you go to your command window and say pkg load symbolic. Right now, if you try to use symbolic toolbox, it's going to give you this warning and it's going to run successfully. I know it's kind of pain for you to like load the symbolic toolbox every time you open Octave. That's one solution. I told you the other solution is to include this package load symbolic at the start of your code, like just write it there, like g load symbolic, and your code should be at the following line, right, where you're going actually to be using the symbolic toolbox. That's another solution. The third solution, which is basically the most comfortable one to me and the most flexible one, is to load this package whenever Octave is starting up. So whenever you're starting Octave, this package will be loaded. How can you do something like this? Let's just do the following. Do the exact same steps that I'm going to do right now. Alright, we're going to go to Octave and I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to save it as start up. Alright, start up like this. Save it. Now I'm going to save pkg of pkg. The first argument is going to be load, comma. The second argument is going to be symbolic. Alright. Now save this. And now you can, I believe you can close this file. I saved it in this folder, so I'm just going to save it on my desktop just so you can see what's going on. Alright, so I'm going to save this startup.m on my desktop. This is the file that we have just created. Okay, now we can go to my desktop and you'll find it here, startup.m. Okay, so I'm going to close it. You don't need to close it, but just let's take this file. Alright, once you have this file that has only one line inside of it, which is package open parentheses load in the first argument and symbolic in the second argument. Now right click and just click on copy. Alright, go to your PC on your local disk C, alright, and see where Octave is installed. And Octave is installed is basically in its individual folder that is named Octave in your local disk C. Just double click on it. Alright, click here, go to your min GW64 and click on share. Now come to Octave, go to 5.1.0, which is the version of your Octave, and click on M. Go to your folder that is named startup and paste this startup file that we have created. Just open it in front of you to remind you what does it contain. It contains only one line, which is loading the package symbolic. Alright, so you copied this file in the startup inside of M inside of 5.1.0. Let's just go like 3 steps earlier and go to Octave here. Now this time we are going to pick site folder, then I'm going to pick M. I'm going to pick the folder startup and I'm going to paste this startup file there too. Okay, if you have done this, just click X, close any sessions opened for Octave. Okay, refresh your PC and run a new session of Octave GUI. Now, without loading anything, without loading the symbolic package, just try to run the symbolic package like this, writing any type of numbers. Okay, it's gonna work, right? So this third method, or this third alternative that I've just shown you, this will guarantee that whenever you open Octave, like let's say that I will close it now and I will open a new session. Every time you make a new session, Symbolic Toolbox is going to be recognized. Okay, so you don't need to manually load the package at the start of every session that you open for Octave, or you don't need to go to your script and in the head of your script you don't need to write package load symbolic every time you make a new script that contains the symbolic toolbox functions. Okay, so you have 3 ways to do it. Just pick the one that suits you better, and this is it.